Thanks for tuning in to India Market Close. Let's pull up the markets. I mean, yes, some of the shipbuilding stocks are on a tear, but the Nifty by itself, a lot more sedate than what it probably was at the start of the trading day, or just about at those levels. Remember, banks didn't do that well, but IT was doing very well. Banks still flat in trade, and IT is still rocking in trade today. Bring up the heat map on the screen and show you what's moving at the large cap end of the market. ICICI Bank, 2 days on a trot if you take, ICICI Bank far outstrips HDFC Bank's gains despite the news flow in HDFC Bank. In fact, HDFC Bank is the top loser today, down about 2%. Now contrast the 2-day move of this one versus ICICI and you will see what I'm talking about. The other set of losers is interesting. Bajaj Finance is down about 1.5% to 2% post what came out to be maybe a rather good quarter, maybe concerns around the margins. And then IT is at a mixed day. While Nifty IT is up because heavyweights like HCL Tech and Infosys and TCS in particular are in the green. But TechM and Wipro have certainly come off in trade. Adani Enterprises is down about 1%, so that's to be watched out for as well. On the gaining side, aside of IT and select banking names, Tata Motors, HDFC Life, Sun Pharma topping those list of gainers. But I wish some of those shipbuilding names, Samina, were on the Nifty because it would have been so cool to mark what a Mazgon Dock or a Garden Reach shipbuilders are up to today.
That was the case, Niraj. The Nifty would have been at 30,000 as well. So, yes, no idea what's going on here, but it's the party. The party continues. And it seems like it's not going to ease or stop anytime soon. Mazgon Docks is your top gainer, 20%. There has been no order win. There has been no positive news flow this morning. It's just that the trade is looking good. You've also got Cochin Shipyard that's up 10%. Apart from that, Garden Reach is lagging behind. And when I say lagging behind, I don't really mean it's negative. It's still up with a gain of 8% in trade. So all three of those counters are looking good in today's trade. Inox Wind is also up 11%. It's off the day's high point, but the promoters have infused 900 crore rupees to clear debt off their books. Now, this was in the know-how. This is what the management had indicated to NDTV as well when we caught up with them. But the markets, I believe, still getting excited as this gets done. PSU stocks as a whole pack are doing quite well in today's trade, and the broader markets are doing slightly better than the benchmark. So while Niraj said that the benchmark itself is muted in that sense, broader markets are doing slightly better in terms of trade. The mid-cap index is down 0.6%. The small-cap index and the micro-cap index are also seeing quite a bit of action in trade as we see it. Well, AstraZeneca from the Pharma pack is doing well. It's up 12%. You've got Lupin, which had a double upgrade that trades the gain of 7%. Metals, Lloyd's Metal is also trading with a gain of 5%. So you've got losers, but apart from a sectoral trend, most of the sectors are just seeing stock-specific action. Nifty IT, like we had indicated to you this morning, would be the gainer or the top sector to watch out for, and it's pretty much just that. Largely on back of what's happening globally, you are seeing IT stocks picking up favor. Next week, of course, it'll be TCS. It'll kickstart the earnings season with reporting numbers on Thursday, so I guess some bit of buying is being seen in this space. July 18th is when Infi reports, Wipro reports on the 19th. So that's the earnings calendar for you as well. But we've got with us Vijay Chopra and Kush Bora, both joining in with their view on the markets. Vijay, I'll start with you first. What do you feel about the markets at this juncture? A little tired, signs of topping out maybe, but at least in the last couple of months, it's been extremely difficult to call out a top.
Well, yes, all of us have been guessing where the top would be. And every time, the market goes down a bit and then recovers. So the good thing has been that even if the market, opens gap up, it fills the gap. And then, there is again strength on the charts. But I think that it is in the process of topping out. And I think that, one should get out of high beta stocks and look for opportunities elsewhere. There are a lot of opportunities where, the stocks haven't moved up. Even there are stocks from the PSU sector, even from the oil and gas, insurance. There are lots and lots of stocks which have not moved up. So again, I think that a week ago on your channel, people were asking me about Mazagaon Dock and GRSE. These stocks have done their bit. And my sense is that, in the budget, probably we are going to see an announcement where probably there's going to be some kind of a strategic stake sale or some kind of investor coming in. So this is the news for a lot of PSU companies. So I think that one should get out of the high beta, get into the low beta. I'm not saying get out of the market or short, but yes, be cautious is the word, and keep on booking profits is the word.
But Vijay, I mean, it'd be very, I don't know, heartbreaking to say it because, while it seems like the party could be done, these stocks have again eked out 100% gains in the last 1 month. So, I mean, if you're an opportune investor also, it would take a lot to go out and take profits off the table, don't you think, in some of these defense companies? While I do agree that they've ran up substantially, but the fact remains it still seems like there's some way to go for them.
Well, yes, markets are not closing, neither are these companies, nor the opportunities. So, Samina, I think that, whatever sanity says, that whenever you see some kind of a euphoria in any stock on the market, so it's better to sit on the sidelines or maybe book profits or get into another stock. I remember a few months back when, even on your channel, I said, people were just shunning stocks like HDFC Bank, and now suddenly HDFC has become the darling of the market. So similarly, I would say for an ITC or a Hindustan Lever or a Nestle, people have shunned it. And now I think that it's a good time to latch on to all these great companies. So there are certain public sector banks as well, which I think, look, Bank of Baroda looks very good. Bank India, Indian Bank, these companies look very good. And so I would say that, just keep on booking profits and getting into safer havens. Because, once these companies start falling, you don't know when your 20-25% would be wiped off. And there would be then it would be a time when, you see a 20-25% correction, get it in the stock, into these stocks again. I think that, India is into a long-term defense story. Next 5 to 10 years, India is going to become a major hub in the, in this region of the world. There would be no major competition India would be having because the poorer countries, the smaller countries.
Vijay, I think we're getting some issue with the lights around you, so maybe we'll try and rectify that. But while we just wait for that, let's get Kush in. And Kush, maybe you kind of talk about these stocks first before we talk about anything else, because it's just been a big move that we see in the HAL, the GRSEs, the Cochin shipyards of the world. What happens here now?
Hi, Niraj. First of all, very good afternoon to you and the viewers. Well, I kind of concur with Vijay. See, how would you rather play it? I mean, if you're already an investor or a trader in some of these stocks, would you rather book profits and then perhaps miss out for another 10, 15, even 20%, or if they do correct, which there is a possibility, considering the levels that they've risen to, repent, saying that oh, I could have sold at it at a slightly higher level and I did not. I would fall in the first camp. So I'm quite happy taking my 15, 20, 25%, whatever, number or, whatever percentage profit I'm getting and staying out of these names. Now, while Mazgaon, Cochin, some of these names have actually shot up, yesterday and today, volumes have been on the rise. They are approaching overheated territories, and from here, the risk-reward ratio is not favorable. Now, on the other hand, the likes of BEL, HAL, BDL, although they've moved up, it hasn't been as sharp as some of these names like Mazgaon and Cochin, right? So if you do want to stay in the defense name, I think you should book profit in Mazgaon, Cochin, and then move to let's say the likes of PEL or a BDL. There too, I would say it's still some distance away from the overheating territories, but there too I would have some limited quantity rather than going a big exposure on some of these names.
And what about your ideas for the afternoon, Kush?
Oh, sure. Before I get to my ideas, let me just give you a quick update on the stock that we discussed yesterday morning, which was Pitti Engineering and Deepak Fertilizers. Pitti we discussed with the second target of 1100. The stock trading to at what about 1163 right now. Deepak Fertilizer we discussed for a target of 745. The stock well placed above 750 kind of levels at the moment. So both these stocks are done. If anyone's got positions, best to perhaps take some money off the table. For today, I've got two stocks. One of them is Zydus Life Sciences. The pharma pack is, making waves. And Zydus Life Sciences for the past couple of sessions, although muted, has actually been consolidating, forming a base. Today and yesterday, we've seen good volume up, a good volume up move on this one. We believe that the stock has room to move to 1170, 1195 kind of levels. 1110 is where you can place your stop loss. From the cash segment, one stock which is Skipper India. Very similar story here. The stock consolidated, taken support at the 20-day moving average and rebounded smartly. Now it's come off the high, but I think the kind of breaker that is given today, the momentum could well continue to 415, 430 kind of levels. 380 is where you place your stop loss.
Well, those are the two trades coming in from Kush. Of course, Pitti Engineering, like you said, has actually had a pretty good run. But the stock of the day is Inox Wind. It's gone up. It was up rather 16% during midday trade. It's off the day's high point, but the reason is that the promoter has infused 900 crores. Richard joins us with more details on this. Richard, this was known to the market. In fact, the promoter had confirmed this with the NDTV as well when we spoke to them last. But it seems like now that the money is come, the street is getting excited at the sight of it.
You're right, Samina. Promoter has infused in around 900 crore capital. Now the company will use this to attain a debt-free status very soon. Also, the savings in the interest will aid the profitability further. Now, talking about the outlook, there's a strong order book with the company at around 2.7 gigawatts, which will be sold in the next 2 to 5 years. Now, this will also add to the top line going ahead. Now, also, the company expects higher order execution from FY25 from this kind of order book. Now, talking about the execution in FY24, it stood at around 370 megawatts versus just 104 megawatts last year. So, this is a very good number that the company had in FY22. It also targets 2 gigawatt of annual execution just in the medium term. Now, talking about the revenue performance of the fourth quarter, revenue was up around 176% and net profit was around 36 crore versus a loss of 120 crore on a YOY basis in the fourth quarter. Now, the company expects the execution to be very strong in the FY25 and the coming quarter, so that will add to the top line and the profitability of the company.
Well, 10.5% or 11% higher for this one. If Vijay Chopra is with us, before we take that break, Vijay, any thoughts on Inox Wind or a Suzlon or both? Vijay, you're on mute.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So definitely good news for the company as far as the debt free status is concerned, that the promoters are infusing money. This definitely instills a lot of confidence. Whenever promoters are putting in their own money, it is definitely good for any company. And I'm sure that with this debt reduction, a lot of interest outgo would definitely get added to the profitability of the company. So the price to earning would change. At present, if I look at the financials, I think a Suzlon in the longer term would be much better than Inox Wind. Surely we need energy, we need electricity, and renewable. The focus on renewable energy is huge. I think that in this budget as well, the Honorable Finance Minister should do something on renewable energy because the dependence on thermal energy due to we have a lot of coal for sure, but again it comes with a lot of pollution. So if we need to do some cap on the polluting ideas behind generating energy, we do not have as many nuclear plants in India, and they have their dangers associated with it. So the most safe way which we can produce electricity is through renewable means. So I'm sure that solar and wind are going to get some incentives as well. So apple to apple comparison, Suzlon looks better than Inox. But again, good news. I'm sure that in the next few quarters, the balance sheet of Inox Wind would look much better than what it is right now.
Okay, let's take a break on that note though. We need to slip into one, and I'm glad Kush highlighted some of the stocks of yesterday as well. But it's good to give those updates. Whether the call goes right or wrong, it's always good to have that update. So Kush, I'm glad you did that. But we need to slip into a break. On the other side of the break, we talk to Eicher Motors or Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles on the CV numbers that they've come out with. Vinod Agarwal joins in. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching India Market Close. One space that we want to throw some light on and get a sense of what's happening is the auto pack. Commercial vehicles this month haven't had it too sweet, but there's been an outlier, which is Eicher Motors. Vinod Agarwal, MD and CEO of VECV of Eicher Motors joins us. Vinod, hi, thanks for joining in. The industry has not had it very sweet in terms of monthly sale numbers for commercial vehicles, but you've had a pretty good month. You've outpaced the industry by quite a wide margin. Is this growth sustainable given that monsoons are expected to be stable and a trust on rural dole-outs can also be seen? Can we expect numbers to get better from these levels and, of course, double-digit growth expected?
First of all, I think if you look at the industry, commercial vehicle industry, we are expecting that the industry will do better in the balance part of the year. First quarter was not as good as we expected, even though first quarter also had a growth for the industry, but it was not good in some of the core segments, like for example in heavy duty trucks or in light and medium duty trucks. The industry has not done so well as was expected. The industry numbers are good because of the very high growth in bus segment. Buses have grown by 35%. And exports also have bottomed out. Exports have done much better in the first quarter. But going forward, we are expecting that, especially from September onwards, after monsoon and the festive season also will kick in, we should have much better potential for commercial vehicle industry. And that fundamental reason is the economy is doing well, first of all. The second is infrastructure investments. And third is the replacement demand. All these three things put together, I think we will have a very good CV industry for the balance part of the year. As far as we are concerned, as you have rightly mentioned, we have outpaced the industry last month. And that is how we had been doing for last so many years. If you look at our overall numbers, every year we are doing better than the industry growth. And that's what our strategy is, to continue to do that based on our very, very wide product range, as well as more and more network in the areas where we are not present. So we are increasing our network, we are increasing our product range, we are improving our customer services. So based on that, we are doing better than the market.
Sir, we'll talk about how much buses and domestic business has done for you, but exports has jumped up significantly, and that is also largely because it's coming off from a very low base. Looking ahead, if you feel like the global market has bottomed out, what is the sort of internal objectives you have in terms of growth in the exports market? What are the units you're targeting going ahead in the next couple of months?
Exports, it has been going through a lot of stress in last few years. And last year was the absolutely very, very low. As compared to the earlier peak, the industry was down by almost 55-60%. Now, of course, last quarter, the industry has grown by 30%. But that is, again, on a very low base, because if it was already down 60%, and on that base of 40% as compared to the earlier peak, if the industry has grown by 30% now, it is not a big deal. So therefore, we have to see much more growth in exports. As far as we are concerned, at the peak level in 2018-19, we had exported 10,000 vehicles, whereas last year it was just around 4,000, I think. And now on that 4,000, we have to continue to grow more. And our first milestone will be to reach our earlier numbers of 10,000, and which should happen in next maybe 2 years or so. And hopefully the industry should grow now, because especially if you look at Bangladesh, is started doing better. Nepal is also doing better. Middle East is doing better. African countries are also better than the earlier periods. So therefore, all across the recovery has started, and we are very hopeful that there will be good recovery in the exports markets.
Mr. Agarwal, just Niraj here, just one question from my end really, because I just borrow from where Samina asked you, and I know you answered that you're hoping for a good second half, but could it be a strong one by virtue of a post-monsoon and a festive season demand, or is it difficult to predict? Because except for you, we haven't seen very convincing numbers per se from the CV space becoming a trend. So hence the question really, that could it be a second half only good for you, or do you reckon it will be good for the industry at large?
No, it has to be good for the industry. If it has to be good for us,
right,
then of course
no, you could be relatively better, but the industry is not that great. Or do you believe that even the industry will be good?
Industry has to do better if we have to do better.
So industry will also be good and you will also do better.
Yes.
And by good, you don't mean a 2-3% good. You mean a decent, strong number there.
Yeah, at least double digit. That's what we are expecting, because if you look at our economy is very, very good. In fact, it's last year it has grown by 8%. And this year also the expectation is 7 to 8%. And on top of it, there are huge infrastructure investments which are already planned. And there are very, very large replacements which are still to happen. So therefore, I think there are all good reasons why the industry has to grow more. There may be some headwinds because of maybe financing issues, or if there are some delinquencies are increasing, there may be some issues. There are always some stress factors. But definitely, I think there are a lot more positive factors than the negative factors. Because monsoon is also expected to be good. Rural economy should do better. And we are also expecting that in the new fiscal budget, government also should come out with a few steps to boost the rural economy. So therefore, I think we are looking forward to a very, very positive situation, and we are very optimistic.
Right. Mr. Agrawal, quick one. So while, we were talking about the various verticals, substantial growth has been seen in the bus segment, like you indicated as well, but the other verticals, which is heavy duty and light and medium duty truck segments, there has been no growth at all. In fact, it's almost flat. Do you feel like there could be an uptick there in terms of sales?
Fundamentally, there is no reason. Like heavy duty trucks, if you look at, first 2 months were the election months. And there were a lot of, you can say, the mind was diverted on various other things. And the projects also were less. And so therefore, after the new government is in place, hopefully everything will start reviving. We will have a lot more infrastructure projects or other capital expenditure projects. So therefore, I think that uncertainty of the new government, that is behind us. So therefore, we are expecting that we should have better commercial vehicle industry, because economy should continue to do better.
Right. So very lastly, a couple of weeks and we'll have the budget upon us. In terms of expectations, what are you expecting from the budget? What do you think needs to be done to boost rural economy and hence boost sectors like yourself?
I think the first expectation will be that the investments on infrastructure and capital expenditure allocation, that should continue to remain very strong, because our economy gets a major boost based on the large allocations of capital expenditure. And in the interim budget also, 11.1 lakh crores, which was allocated in the interim budget for the current year. That also is very respectable number. But we expect that even if that can be increased further based on the better government finances. If you look at the GST collections are very good, fiscal deficit is better. So therefore, I think the capacity of government to spend more money is better. So we are expecting that the allocations for capital expenditures will be even better than whatever was allocated in the interim budget. Other than that, if the rural economy has to do better, then of course there has to be some incentives or some sort of boost given to the rural consumers, that how do they get better traction. So I think that's what is we are expecting from this budget, that there should be some steps taken for improvement or boosting the rural economy. And then of course we are also expecting that there will be some incentives for electric vehicles, like continuation of FAME schemes, or there will be some incentive for scrappage of vehicles, apart from whatever OEMs are giving in the market for the scrapping of vehicles on discount, or some incentives in the form of some concessions in road tax or some other small registration fees, etc. We are expecting that there should be some incentive from government that will boost the scrappage of old vehicles. So I think these are the few initiatives which we expect from fiscal budget.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Agarwal, and good luck with business. We'll hopefully catch you after the earnings season too. On that note, we'll take a break, take you through the last half an hour of trade. It's been a subdued day, and we'll take you through how things are going to wrap up as we go along with it. We'll take a break. Stay with us on the other side. There's a lot more lined up.
Back with India Market Close right here on NDTV Profit. About half an hour left for the markets to shut shop. And I must, while the Nifty's come off a bit actually, some of those defense names continue to stay higher. Kush, we didn't manage to take a Nifty call from you, did we? If not, would you initiate a fresh short on the index, maybe?
No, Niraj, we did not discuss the indices. But no, I wouldn't initiate a fresh short, although my view is cautiously optimistic, as I've been mentioning for a while. But we are seeing some sort of a put base around the 24,000 mark. So I'd perhaps give it a day, see if the market does respect that. So, I would rather just take the money off the table and sit, out on the Nifty. Bank Nifty is actually starting to show a negative divergence. So might be tempted to take perhaps a put on this one. But here too, as I said, I'm just waiting because we've seen a smart recovery, towards close. It's actually a very healthy sign. So both the indices are on a wait and watch list, getting slightly tricky for Bank Nifty to move higher. So I'm just being a little watchful on that.
Okay. So buying a put on the Bank Nifty, and banks could lead the way lower. So that could be interesting. Okay.
And we don't have too many cues coming in from Wall Street either. So that could be another reason.
Yes.
You may not see too much activity, but we said this in the morning, right? You were going to get a gap up, but the second half of trade is when you'd see profit taking, and that's pretty much how it's played out in today's trade. One space, Vijay, you might want to come in on this one, is the chemical space. There was a little bit of excitement around these stocks. Low-level buying was emerging. There was indications of green shoots for the sector. We caught up with Galaxy Surfkins. We'll tell you what that conversation is about. But how do you fundamentally feel about this space?
Well, I think, Samina, I started talking about this space almost 3-4 months back. The problem was it started during COVID, when the raw material prices or API prices for the pharma sector and for the chemical sector, the raw material prices were terribly increased, exorbitantly increased by the people in China, and there were logistics issues as well. So what companies started doing was that they started importing raw material in large quantities. Now, few months down the line, prices started coming down, and they came down as 50%. So somehow there was a lot of inventory pipeline which all these chemical companies were having because they had done a lot of buying, and nobody was sure about the situation which is going to pan out further. So this inventory was liquidated maybe 2 quarters back, and then was the time when I think that specialty chemicals started looking very, very good. And I think that this sector should do well. It's kind of a consumption sector. And today, without chemicals, we cannot do anything. Maybe on your work table, there are 10 things which are made out of, some kind of a chemical. So for sure, I think chemicals should do well with at least 1 year's perspective. And I think that these companies have done away with that, inventory, which was expensive. And now the cheap raw material is available. Logistics is not an issue. And we are having a lot of imports from China, whether it's APIs or raw material for the chemical companies. So I think the specialty chemical companies should do well over a period of time. And yes, you should buy in correction because a lot of companies have already moved up in the last 3 months.
Yeah, well, we did catch up with Galaxy Surfkins, and while they said that demand was looking good, unfortunately they were going through a supply strain concern because of logistic problems due to the Red Sea. For the last 7-8 weeks, there's been delays in delivery and supply, and of course, worries in that sense. So while the demand picture may be getting better, this time around they seem to be hit by supply concerns. But hear what the management had to say. They talked about the growth, what are they expecting from the industry, and product launches, because that's what they're betting on now.
The specialty products that we're launching essentially are for niche markets into niche applications. So that's the way these premium specialties are. With regard to our capex, we will obviously be doing about 150 crores this year, and it is a mix of what we do on expansions on our performance surfactants as well as specialty ingredients, and that's something we'll start reflecting in the coming years in terms of revenues and margins. As I had said in the last quarter's earnings call, the demand side is improving, and then we see the momentum being there. But the issue that I'd like to bring to the attention is the supply side has been having challenges in terms of the logistics. Internal logistics has worsened over the last 6 to 8 weeks. The team is working out ways to ensure that we are able to keep our customers served well. So that's been one of the challenges that has emerged over the last 6 to 8 weeks. But yes, we are working around to ensure that we manage that well to serve the demand side.
Well, the Nifty is easing off as expected. You won't be seeing it go home with too many gains this afternoon. But the stock of the day, I would imagine, should be Galaxy Surfkins. There's no major news apart from the fact that we had a conversation with them. But so I think, Niraj, we should take credit for the management coming out and talking about it, and of course investors listening to that. But Rajesh Palviya, Axis Security, joins in now. Rajesh, do you track Galaxy Surfkins? Do you have a view on this one?
So very strong buying action in today's session, and the way stock has moved up, stock now managed to view breakout of almost last 6-7 month consolidation range, and looking at the overall structure at this moment, we believe that if it stocks continues to hold above 3020 level, then possible rally can extend further as the breakout is very strong with the volume. So I think there could be another rally towards 3120 to 3150 kind of zone. So those who have already bought at lower level can hold the position with stop loss of 3020.
And Rajesh, just the cool off in the index, we were talking to Kush earlier about how this seems toppish. Is this, to your mind, looking slightly wobbly, or do you reckon it's just a day's move and you need to wait for tomorrow?
It's just a day move because, as we have weekly option expiry and looking at the data for the day, most of the put writers are still holding at 24,300, 24,250 level. So that may act as a good support area, though we have just slipped below to 24,300 level. So I think another 10-20 point would be again, important to watch for. I think again, there would be support buying action around 24,280 to 24,270 kind of zone. That level is very important for the today's session. So I think again, some buying action may emerge around those levels. But yes, on the higher side, 24,350 is having major call concentration area. So that may act as a supply zone for the day. So a very tight range now for next 20 minutes of trade. So on the dip, one can look to buy around 23,270 kind of zone on Nifty spot and book profits at 24,350 zone.
The interesting move, like we said, is what's happening with HDFC Bank versus ICICI Bank. If we can plot the charts of both for the last 5 days, if you will, or the last 10 days, but effectively the action of the last 2 days. Yesterday, HDFC Bank was up 3%. It ended down 2%, or it ended about 2% higher, so not 3% higher. And then today, it's down nearly 1.5% or thereabouts, the top loser on the index today. Contrast that with what ICICI Bank has done. And ICICI Bank was down 1% yesterday at the start. It ended up 1% higher and is up another couple of percentage points today. So quite contrasting action despite the news flow being in HDFC Bank. Now my question, very carefully, actually, he spoke to Kush at length about this. He had taken money off the table at 1800, so he's laughing his way to the bank. Vijay Chopra, fundamentally, would you go out and buy an HDFC Bank because the action around MSCI weightage moving up still exists?
Well, I don't think so. Although I've always regarded HDFC Bank as one of the best banks, best private banks in the entire banking arena, and I was time and again sticking my neck out when the stock was trading close to about 1400. That and it's a time to buy. But there were not many takers and not much interest then. But I think that now, for the time being, one should not get into HDFC. Wait for a correction. So if at all I get HDFC anywhere around 1500, 1550, it would be a great buy for the longer term. Yes, there are players who are, having HDFC Bank as a family gold. So they can definitely hold on to it because, 200 rupees fall or 300 rupees fall won't bother them in the longer term. So I still feel that HDFC is a great bank in the longer term. But yes, if you ask me, there are still opportunities in the banking space. I mentioned earlier as well, Bank of India, Indian Bank, IDBI Bank, Bank of Baroda, these banks look very good. And, if at all you want to buy banks, go and buy these. And even IDFC First Bank, at these levels doesn't look bad.
Rajesh, in terms of opportunities for the near term, so for the July series, what are the top 2 to 3 stocks that you like? And this can be on the short or long side.
So I think we believe that pharma is one space where we can see a good up move in this series because a lot of action in most of the pharma space, and another space that we like is from IT. So these two spaces are looking bullish at this moment, and we believe that furthermore momentum we can see in this two space because safety of margin is there in both the sector. From IT space, I think Coforge can be looked at. That stock is looking very promising the way stock has moved up in last couple of weeks. and now stock is comfortably holding above to all its near-term, short-term moving averages. So I think that stock can be looked at, and even in the derivative data, there is a long built-up on this counter. So Coforge can be a buy for upside target of 36,040, 6,050. The stop loss should be placed at around 58.40. Another stock from pharma space, that is Granules, that stock is also looking very bullish. The way stock is moving in higher top, higher bottom formation on a daily, weekly time frame, stock is moving in upsloping channel on daily chart. Stock is comfortably holding all its important moving averages. So Granules can be a buy for upside target of 525, 530 for trading perspective. And your stop loss should be placed at 507. And the third stock that we like is NOSIL. Strong breakout of multiple supply zone on a daily, weekly time frame. The way stock is now, holding at higher level, we believe that NOSIL can exhibit good amount of rally in near term. 325 would be the target, and stop loss one can place it around 296.
Right, the markets are down about 400 points in the Sensex from the day's high point is what we've seen. You've got pockets of gain. Mascon Docs is close to 20% in terms of a rally today. AstraZeneca is up 12%. Honasa is up 11%. Actually, Rajesh, why don't you tell us what you think about pharma names? Lupin has a double upgrade and the stock is on fire. There was a buy call from Kush on Zydus as well. AstraZeneca is up about 11-12%. Anything in the pharma pack that you're looking constructive on right now?
So yeah, Lupin definitely one can look at, but as I mentioned, Granules is also looking promising, and Sun Pharma, that stock can be looked at these junctures. So Sun Pharma is also managed to give breakout. The way Sun Pharma managed to give breakout on weekly chart, we believe that here we can see good traction, and 1600 to 1630 would be the next target for Sun Pharma. So here also one can buy with stop loss of 15 of 20. So I think most of the pharma stocks, like even Dr. Reddy Divi's Lab is also showing good traction in terms of buying. So I think whole pharma space is again on the limelight, and most of the traders are taking bet on this pharma space. So we believe that the most of these pharma stocks can do well in coming days.
Okay. Well, 15 minutes to go. Kush, anything that has caught your eye? Like Samina said, there are a few stocks which are standing out in trade. Anything that you would go out and trade?
Niraj, as a BTST trade, I have KEI Industries, on my radar. The stocks sort of paid its dues in terms of, a short round of profit booking, respected the 20-day moving average for a while and rebounded smartly. More importantly, it's near the high point of the day during close. Makes it a good BTST candidate. 47.50, 48.75 are the targets to look at. 45.90, thereabouts, about 100 points lower is where I would place my stop loss. ICICI Bank too, as we were discussing just a while ago, has caught my attention. But since it's close to that, 1235, 1240 resistance mark, I would hold on just for now to initiate a buy call. But definitely something to keep on the radar. Tomorrow, if we get it above 1235, 1240, makes it a good buy candidate. So for now, KEI Industries as a BTST trader.
KEI Industries as a BTST. Well, watch out for CSCI. And Samina pointed out pharma. It's after a while that I'm seeing Laurus Labs make the move that it is. But did I see Laurus Labs being up 4%? Yes, I did. In fact, 3.94% also for a Zydus Life. But let's just get Laurus Labs up, because it just doesn't move just like that. I think it's just given a move after a really long time. Let's see if this dies down, or does it actually build on from where it is right now. Vinod, you usually come out with 3-4 ideas, rather Vijay. You come out with 3-4 ideas, but if I had to pin you down to just one name today.
Don't pin me down.
Choose the first amongst equals.
Pharma, one of the companies I like right now is Ipca Laboratories, trading at around 11.75. So Ipca looks very good on the charts, and so does Aarti Drugs. So these two companies I'm liking in the pharmaceutical space. I think there's a decent 10 to 15% upside in this. Aarti I'm seeing around 650, and Ipca again about 1300 on Ipca. So these two companies haven't moved much. And whenever dollar is strengthened, we have a strong dollar. So these companies generally do a lot of exports. So of course they do a lot of imports as well, but pharmaceuticals and IT are mostly into exports. So these companies get benefited, and pharma hasn't moved much. So after chemicals, I think pharma should do well.
Okay, so that's on pharma, and that's certainly been one key sector that we spoke about in the morning. I think Samina highlighted it on the trade setup as well. But the other one is power. Now, and as the budget allocation approaches, this sector comes into focus every time. Companies are optimistic about the industry's prospects. Piper Serica's Abhay Agarwal talks about the most promising facets of the power sector and the stocks to bet on. Listen in.
It's an amazing sector because what the government has done is clearly breaking down the entire GDP growth construct and saying that what sectors need to fire for the GDP growth to be close to 10% for the next 5 to 10 years annually. So that power is a key element of that, without adequate availability of power. And we are already in a power shortage situation despite the ramp up in power capacity. So definitely the large generators of power, and when I say large, these are the guys who are running gigawatt plants because they can drive efficiencies. Plus they have a portfolio that is across thermal, solar, wind. So they are efficient producers of powers. They know how to distribute it themselves or through SABs. I think those names become very, very attractive to us. And as ancillaries, we are not so hot on distributors because they work on a fixed margin business, but even an exchange, a power exchange becomes very attractive that allows for price discovery and has a unique monopolistic situation. So I think large power generators and exchanges is something that we would be keenly looking at.
Now, keeping the conversation focused on power, infrastructure, that whole space, we caught up with JSW Energy, joint MD and CEO Sharad Mahendra. Here's what he had to say about how the industry is looking and, of course, what's happening in terms of the company.
Last, if we see 2-3 years, execution has not been a challenge. But maybe 6 months back only, we identified the way bidding has taken place, the way the PPAs are going to get signed. These executions, not today, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, can become a challenge, for which we are already doing some kind of backward integration to de-risk our business in terms of execution. So we have identified, this is a very, very important point which you raised, that execution not today, next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, but going forward, if every year 50 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity is to be executed, execution may become a challenge.
Well, that's the word coming in from the industry heads, JSW Energy Management, talking about what lies ahead. Well, the Nifty is closing in. Looks like it could be below 24,300 in today's trade. The breadth of the market's okay as well. One stock that's getting hammered out of shape is ITD Cementation. Kush, do you track ITD Cementation? Do you have a word on this one?
Yes, Samina, we do. It had a very sharp run up. So I think, profit booking, round of profit booking was warranted, but this is, too sharp a fall. So from a near-term perspective, I think the stock has support at those 470 levels. Anyone who's got an existing position should have, a stop loss at 470. Don't look to add because the stock's down on, very strong volume. So as I said, this is mostly, profit taking, but a very sharp one for, one single day. 470 is the next level to watch for. If it's held, the stock might consolidate there for some time and, perhaps move sideways.
Rajesh, what about you? Do you have any buy today, sell tomorrow trades or sell today, buy tomorrow trades?
I think two stocks ideas where we are focusing. One is RITES. That stock managed to give a breakout of last 5-6 week consolidation range. So RITES is a buy for upside target of 775 to 780. On the downside, one can place a stop loss around 735. The second stock is from automobile space, that is Tata Motor. Almost stock is now trading at day high and now inching to 1,000 mark. So I think Tata Motor is looking promising at this moment, and we believe that here we can see a follow-up momentum in tomorrow's opening. 1,025 to 1,035 would be the target for BTSC trade. Keep your stop loss around 985.
That also flashes on your screen. The European Union has moved ahead with provisional tariffs on China's EV imports. Niraj, there's a bit of a ha happening here. You want to comment on it?
No, this was slated to happen on the 4th of July, and then it was believed that maybe it'll get pushed a little bit. Now that this has happened, this changes the landscape of Chinese EVs in the EU region by a substantial means, because a bunch of Chinese EVs out there, and I think in line with what US and Canada have done, now we have the EU region doing this as well. We don't know the extent of the tariffs, of course, but this is very important. One, from a perspective of Chinese cars in that region, and two, I think it helps to probably get an auto expert or an auto company to come and tell us about what could this mean in terms of opportunity for the other Asian regions.
It would definitely mean good news for the likes of Tata Motors, who are launching EV in markets like the US. So that was what they talked about, because they do believe it's cheaper than the EVs that are sold in the Western world. And if this also means there's no competition coming in from China, you just sort of become in a sweeter spot in that sense. So cost effective and no real competition in the Western market. So it wouldn't, maybe we should pull up some of those stocks and see if there's a little bit of a stock reaction on the companies that have a EV play taking place. Nifty Auto has
seen a spike.
At today's, I have no idea. Look at Tata Motors,
Yeah, no, you're right. I was just saying that the Tata Motors clearly one to watch. I don't know if M&M, I don't know if Samvardhana Motherson and some of the others have also, not quite M&M, but Tata Motors, likely JLR right there in UK.
And it's well timed, because this is only a few days ago when the management came out and talked about their plans, right, of competing in the Western world and going global. And this afternoon, I guess the stars are aligned for Tata Motors and its EV plans. You want to comment on the cricket piece? Because I think that's a little more exciting than today's close.
No, I mean, this is great. And then, of course, the other part, Samina, and it's very exciting simply because the cup is home. I mean, it's back on the home soil after 13 long years. And frankly, if I look at the T20 World Cup alone, it's home after some 16, 17 years, right? 2007 was the last time under MS Dhoni that we won the inaugural edition. And now we've done this in a thrilling final over. So, well, it's a big thing. I mean, post the breakfast and meeting Prime Minister Modi, now the victory lap from Nariman Point to Marine Drive, in Marine Drive to Wankhede Stadium, where there is this felicitation ceremony. And for all the fans out there, here's the exciting part. Entry to the Wankhede Stadium is free, but it's on a first come, first serve basis. Gates open at 4 p.m. And that's not all. The celebrations will continue with an open bus trophy tour through the streets of Mumbai. So it's something that all of us should go out and clap for them, because they've really brought joy in the hearts of...
Are you attending it? We should. I heard the we.
Yeah, no, whoever can should. Most certainly. I have shows to do till 3:45, so I can't reach Wankhede by 4 p.m.
Rather unfortunate, but yes, it is.
If our studios were at Nariman Point, sure. Since we are at Bandra Kurla Complex in Mumbai, not quite a stone's throw away, Samina.
Well, that's of course so. Cricket. But a quick update before we start wrapping up trade, and it seems like we're back about 24,300. But polling is underway in the UK, and the incumbent Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was among the early voters. The Conservative Party, which has held power for the past 14 years, faces a formidable challenge from the opposition Labour Party. Current predictions indicate that Labour has a strong lead, suggesting the possibility of a change in government. Meanwhile, European stocks are gaining as key elections dominated the scene, and traders evaluated the likelihood of the Federal Reserve interest rate cuts following US economic data that bolstered the case for easing. But remember, volumes across those markets also remain fairly light, and that could be one reason why we aren't getting too much of a lift from afternoon trade. But as we start wrapping up, I think it's 24,300. We've pretty much wrapped up most of the trades, but last 1-2 minutes to go. Would you consider going long, Rajesh, at this level for tomorrow, just for opening tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. So we believe that, this momentum can continue for tomorrow also. So we will go on the long side of trade. Till Nifty is holding about 24,200, our trades would remain on the long side for Nifty as well as for market also.
Kush, what about you? You're not going long, I'm assuming, at these levels for tomorrow?
No, I'm not. As I said, just a little watchful. Perhaps a put for Bank Nifty, but as I said, I'll reserve the trade for the tomorrow morning opening call.
Very quick one, Rajesh. Tata Motors. We've seen a little bit of an uptick on back of the news flow that's come in. But if you had to trade this for tomorrow, would you go long? It's up about 1%.
Yes, Samina, so I have already mentioned for the BTST for Tata Motor. Yes, we will carry this stock for tomorrow also. Strong buying action in last 5-10 minutes. Possible target 1,030, 1,040 for Tata Motor on BTST trade.
Okay, Ixigo is up 5% by the way, ahead of I think some numbers coming out, so watch out for that one. And a stock which is perking up in trade, possibly hitting life highs, is Aegis Logistics, up another 3% at 890. Should we pull up Aegis Logistics? No, I think this rate is showing wrong number. We should try and get the other rate, but yeah, Aegis Logistics, not quite at the day's high, but still trading very well for itself. Sarda Energy is up about 6, Lloyd's Metal is up, New India Assurance is up about 5%, so very strong move out there too. Kush, very quickly, New India Assurance, in fact, can you pull that up? Because I think that stock has had a really strong move and perked up in the last few minutes of trade.
Well, if you've got it, hold on. No fresh trades to be initiated. There's a resistance at 260, 265 marks. So very close to that. Perhaps an opening tomorrow, if it does close, open above those levels, we'll consider, but not as a BTST trade for now. Hold whoever's got it. No fresh entries just yet.
Okay. So, gentlemen, all three of you, thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us today. And clearly, as we wrap up trade, I think the star of the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes has to be Tata Motors. So while the Nifty has done what it has done, this news flash around the provisional duty has led to Tata Motors, and we should pull up the intraday of that stock for you before we do everything else, because Tata Motors has spiked in trade, and clearly this is a story that is big from a global perspective. Look at this spike. Tata Motors is up 2.67%, and certainly something that you want to keep an eye out for as the day wears by. This will be very, very important. Okay, now the heat map up on the screen, and Tata Motors will now be in the top 10 gainers, I'm sure. In fact, the top gainer on the index, 2.7%. ICICI Bank, HCL Tech follow suit, TCS, Sun Pharma, despite all the negative news flow around, because Pharma is doing so well, that stock has done well. HDFC Life, Kotak Bank, ONGC, all of them doing okay. What's not doing well? HDFC Life is doing well, HDFC Bank is not. Bajaj Finance is not. Adani Enterprises is corrected a little bit. Wipro, Tech Mahindra, L&T, Tata Consumer. So that's the list of names which have gone down. And reason why the index is flat, because HDFC Bank, and to an extent Larsen & Toubro, sulking, and some IT names there. Bring up the BSE 500 gainers and losers list as we wrap up. Imagine HDFC Bank is in the list of those names, which shows that the broader end of the spectrum has actually a lot of gains. We'll end with the market wrap, of course, but Hutco, Wrights, Lupin, Cochin Shipyard, NBCC is up 10%. There's strength in Galaxy Surfactants, Mazgon Dock up 20% as well. So some of these stocks have done really well for themselves. In fact, NBCC we didn't discuss with our guests, but if we can wrap up with also the intraday chart of NBCC, because it was up 6% when at the start of the show, and it's ended about 9.5% higher. Look at this spike here that has come into this stock as well. So some of these stocks are moving really strongly in the session. I mean, cool to know how they do in the days to come. Final piece, get the advanced decline ratio and just see if the market breadth looked constructive. And yes, it did, just about, but in the green in favor of the advances. So good going, really. Okay, that's it from all of us who put this show together. On the note that the broader markets have done well, IT has done well, Pharma has done well, even if banks largely have not, or as an index hasn't, even if banks largely might have moved higher. Tomorrow is the final day of the week. Looking forward to that. For now, from all of us, thanks so much for watching.